are fond of compliments. In July, John said, in short, that Lamar was going to be recognized as, quote, the greatest quarterback to ever play in the history of the National Football League. Wow. Okay, Jim. Well, what's your take on your quarterback? Take a listen.
He's not only one of the best in the game currently, he's one of the best of all time. I do not think I'm going out on a what do they call it, on a ledge, on a limb. I do not feel at all like I'm going out on a limb and saying that.
Okay. He sounds like Danny Parkins.
What?
No, Danny simultaneously believes that Patrick Mahomes is the most talented quarterback in NFL history, and that Justin Herbert is 90% as talented as Mahomes. Which means by that definition, Justin Herbert's damn near the greatest player in NFL history. You asked me something wild on the call that was supposed to, in theory, be about this past conversation. I actually think it's more about this conversation, which is, at what point do your college evaluation about pedigree, measurables, those things, do those priors fall off, and it's more about who you've been as a pro? And my answer to that is a couple years ago for Justin Herbert. I'm going to weigh who you were supposed to be coming out of college, who you were in college, first couple years in the league. Mm-hmm. Seems like a lot of the Herbert stuff is still based on what type. Look at all this talent and what a great pro he's going to be, but he's been in the league 5 years. So I think he is as talented as anybody in the league other than Patrick, Lamar, and Josh, who I think have the three most raw
100%
talent.
agree with that.
But this game this weekend was not an outlier for him, where he looks for a half like the best player in the league, and then he goes 7 for his next 25. Like, he hasn't been able to quite put it all together.
He wins it.
Yeah.
Okay. Justin Herbert is absolutely undeniably elite. He is a top quarterback in the NFL who his specific skill set, so he can't overcome bad coaching or bad teams as much as, say, maybe like a Josh Allen or Lamar. Honestly, more than even Patrick Mahomes. I think Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson can probably overcome a lack of a team because they can be more physical. They can kind of barrel through guys and run. They can use their legs more than anything and just their physical strength more than honestly Mahomes, because Mahomes doesn't really run like that anymore. And as we see, Patrick Mahomes' numbers have gone down when he doesn't have some pieces around him. I'm not saying that Patrick Mahomes needs pieces around him to be great. Patrick Mahomes is absolutely great, elevates his team. He is an all-time great. That's not what that's meant to say. I'm just saying certain players, because of their physicality, their skill set, you would be better off. If you had no idea what your team was going to look like, you had no idea on offense, coaching, doesn't matter, you're better off probably taking a Lamar Jackson or a Josh Allen. Honestly, because you just know, hey, as long as those guys have the ball, they'll be able to find something to do, right? They'll be able to help us in some way. I think a Patrick Mahomes, a Tom Brady, it's a little bit less than that. But it's not to say that Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes are less than Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. I'm not making that argument at all. Okay, so I want to be very, very clear about that. And so Justin Herbert is now going to be more in that arena. Justin Herbert has had no coaches. Like, I don't understand what people don't understand about that. He's had inconsistent offenses, inconsistent weapons, with injuries, whatever it may be. He's been injured himself a handful of times. His ribs, his wrist or finger, I forget now. I can't keep track of everyone's injuries, honestly. But he's had an unfortunate start to his career. And this is what I always refer to as, death by 1,000 paper cuts. That there's so many of these little things, a bad coach here, an injured player there, an injury to himself there, here, and the way these things unfold, you're like, well, hey, this guy hasn't been playing as great. But you have to really understand what you're looking at. This is where the eye test over anything. I don't care about numbers. I don't care about stats. I don't care about records. I don't care about any of that stuff. Just look at what you're seeing, and you will see that Justin Herbert is a special quarterback, is elite. And no, you know what? I don't think Harbaugh is saying this just as a way to kind of juice up his quarterback. I think he truly believes it. And if you don't think that Harbaugh knows what he's talking about, then you're probably not going to like this video anyway then. You probably don't think Justin Herbert's that good of a quarterback anyway. But Harbaugh obviously knows what he's talking about. And I've said this similar about actually Sean Payton and Bo Nix conversations, that these coaches have their reputation on the line. A coach has to look like he is insanely intelligent and competent and in full control of everything. That's really like a foundational need for a head coach. You can't be seen as irrational, talking out of both sides out of your mouth. Like, you can't do that. So what comes out of Harbaugh's mouth in terms of player evaluation, stuff like it matters. It really, really does. And I got news for you. If you didn't really believe that, and he was saying that type of stuff to the owner, to the GM, to whatever, that is not okay. No owner, no one in management wants to be like juiced up like that, lied to like that. I need you to tell me like it is. Is Justin Herbert that guy? Because I'm now telling everyone else, like, because even from like an owner standpoint, they don't want to look dumb. They're telling all their friends and family and dinner parties and whatever the heck billionaires are doing. They don't want us to look dumb. They don't want to be the guy who's telling everyone, hey, Justin Herbert's going to be one of the best quarterbacks of all time, only for that not to be the case. Then everyone starts laughing and railing at them at the golf course or on a private island or whatever. Like, all that stuff is connected, honestly. It might sound like a stretch, but it's not. I promise you, anyone that's worked with people who have a tremendous amount of power know this. Whether it's even just moderate power, as in like they're in charge of the construction company, or whether it's like they're like the CEO of this big massive company. It depends on, what your professional personal background is in. Like they need honest evaluations of these things. And so if Harbaugh was even just using this as a way just to kind of juice up Herbert to try to like get him feeling good about himself, and then like behind the scenes he's like, no, that's not really true, that would get out very quickly. Very quickly. Very quickly. That's we know how these teams operate, okay? Loose lips sink ships. So I really, really fully believe that Harbaugh believes that. And again, his opinion on quarterback play and greatness, his opinion matters way more than my own, than Nick's, than Greg's, than Brew's, than Colin Cowherd's, Stephen A. Smith's, whatever it may be. I trust his opinion way more than mine. It's not to say that you always have to agree with the next player or a coach or whatever it may be. I'm not saying that. But when it comes to evaluation things, there's certain things that you do have to just be like, this guy probably knows more than me. And if you disagree with him, I think it's probably okay. You have to really bring some great logic, and you have to bring out why you think that person's wrong, and point out, hey, I think he's probably misleading this. Hey, you know what? I think Harbaugh is an unbelievable coach. I don't know how good he is at evaluating talent, right? That was the argument about other great coaches in the past. Bill Belichick more commonly right now these days. And I think those are fair criticisms, and you can unpack it, but you also shouldn't have such confidence, though. And if I'm going to disagree with Harbaugh in this situation, I could point out, well, you know what? I don't know how good he is at evaluating talent. I think maybe he probably is trying to juice up his quarterback, this, that, and the third. But I wouldn't be able to be like with the confidence of, he's wrong. Oh my God, he's not even close. Like, you couldn't have that same level of confidence. You could disagree, but you have to leave the door open to be like, yeah, it's interesting that he is saying that, though. I'd like to learn. I'd like to understand a little bit more deeply why. Is it because of his ability to process, his anticipation, his accuracy, his physicality, his intangibles? Like, I'd like to know a little bit more. You got to like figure it out, and we don't always get that. And in terms of people being honest, they also they're not always that deeply honest in those types of moments. So it's a complicated thing. It's not a binary yes or no type of situation. But I will say that I'm confident in Herbert being great. I really am. And it's just, football is just the ultimate team sport. You rely so heavily on your coaching, on your team around you. Herbert, I keep getting confused between Harbaugh and Herbert. Herbert has instantly looked better now that Harbaugh is his coach. Do we really not think that if Harbaugh was there 3-4 years ago, that Herbert wouldn't continue to be better and better and better and better and better and better and play at a top sustained level? Do we really believe that? I mean, like, really? And again, I'm a huge Joe Burrow fan. I think Joe Burrow is also a top quarterback in the NFL. Truly. Do we think if Justin Herbert had T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, that Justin Herbert wouldn't significantly be putting up like box office numbers as well? I mean, and it's not like I think Zach Taylor is this like great, unbelievable coach, but he's certainly better than whatever the heck Herbert had going on in there. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, we have to face the reality. The Chargers were a poorly run franchise. They made bad decisions consistently throughout Herbert's career, whether it be from personnel, coaching, whatever. And just because a quarterback needs a great coach to really maximize his greatness does not make him less great. We need to put that to bed right now. We put too much emphasis, I think, sometimes on overcoming situations. There was a real big problem with coaching and personnel in Tom Brady's at the end of Tom Brady's career. Was he able to overcome that? Was he able to overcome some of the bad roster and lack of offensive mind with the Patriots near the end of his career before he left? No. Didn't he end his career throwing an interception with the Patriots? And then what happened also when the Bucs, they had no run game, no healthy weapons to really work to, weird coaching situation where the coach who you won a Super Bowl with is like, I'm being actually promoted by not being the head coach now, like just all kind of like weird stuff. Literally, Tom Brady couldn't overcome that. And his final game, his actual final game against the Dallas Cowboys was like, it was almost like you could almost like cry because it was so bad, because you're just like, what even is this game plan? They asked Tom Brady to throw the ball like 90 times. I mean, it was just like absurd. It was like, what are we doing here? So we always have this revisionist history about like what a player or a quarterback or a coach, whatever, what they have to prove and do with the circumstances given to them. And I just think it's a bunch of nonsense. And the fact that people reach such confidence about the negative. I'm more open to people being really confident in the positive, because it's like it's coming from a more like optimistic, like this is what I believe can continue to happen. But when you come from the other side and you come from the negative and you have that intense level of confidence, you're pretty much saying, I'm squashing this. I'm putting a ceiling on this player, saying they're not capable of doing this thing. And I don't know where anyone gets off having the confidence that they're unable to kind of get to that level, unless the evidence really, really suggests it. Your confidence should just not be that high. You can still believe it. Again, you can still believe it. But the level of confidence, that's usually what happens when I take issue with certain people's takes, no matter who it's coming from. It's the level of confidence that sometimes people have about certain things. That's what I'm like, where are you so confident? If you notice, a lot of my takes, I'm like, I think this is what'll happen. I'm pretty sure. Very rarely am I like 100%, this is what's going down, no doubt about it. I very rarely do that. Because I'm like, how am I supposed to know? How does anyone know? I can be very confident about logic. I can be very confident about what something means, but I'm not always 100% confident about various conclusions. And again, occasionally I am. And one of my most confident conclusions that I reached was, ironically, about Justin Herbert and Harbaugh. And I planted the flag and said that Herbert and Harbaugh are going to win Super Bowls together. They're going to be a consistent top team, top coach quarterback in the NFL for years to come. My only hope is that they didn't waste enough of Herbert's prime years of that to like really have that come into fruition. You get lucky with some health, right? That's always just, you just got to chalk it up to the football gods, the regular gods, the whoever, the universe, aliens, who knows. And they do that. Like I said, I've already said this in many clips now. The Kansas City Chiefs' reign of this division is over. They will not be dominating that division anymore. And Harbaugh and Herbert are going to be massive reasons for that. Massive reasons. So yeah, that's the way I see it. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers and Harbaugh and Herbert being one of the best of all time? It's also like, what is the best of all time versus greatest of all time? These words, man. These words. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.